So it's been a long time since I have made a video on here at all, and I've honestly missed making videos on here a lot, and a lot has changed since I have made a video. And so I'm just gonna kind of go over everything that's happened and like where I'm at now, why I stopped making videos, and yeah. So there's a mirror right here so you can kind of see. I am 29 weeks pregnant tomorrow. Today is July 8th when I'm making this video, so July 9th I will be 29 weeks pregnant, which is crazy. And as you can see by the ring on my hand, I also got married since I have been on here last. So it was really crazy. So last time I did videos, I was living in New York, and then I was moving back to Florida in January of 2019. I moved January 4th. Back then I was dating somebody else, all this stuff happened, and then that person actually introduced me to my husband. His name is Nick. You guys will probably meet him at some point. And things just went really fast with Nick and I. When Nick and I met, I wasn't dating this guy anymore, but we were really close, so we hung out all the time still. And he was like, hey, I'm gonna go and hang out with like one of my friends, you want to come with? And I was like, yeah, sure, of course. So then I came with, and I met Nick. And as soon as I saw his face, and as soon as he smiled, I was like, this is the guy I'm going to marry. Like, literally, I'd never met this guy before in my life. Nothing. And then I think maybe 3 months passed, and we had not talked once at all. And he needed a ride. They were both in the Marine Corps at the time, and he needed a ride from where we lived like to the base, which was like 2 hours away from his house. And I was like, sure, okay, because I was already gonna go up there anyways and stay the night there at a hotel like the night before, and like hang out with all the guys before, you know, they went off for a couple weeks to Georgia for annual training. So Nick needed a ride, and he had texted my ex, and I was with my ex, and we were at like Pollo Tropical or something with another one of our friends, and he was like, I can't, but maybe you could give him a ride. And then I was like, yeah. And then I was like, give me your phone. So then I was just texting Nick from this dude's phone, and then I was just like, here's my number, just text me from my phone, because that would be a lot easier, like especially if I'm giving you a ride, it would just be so much easier to be able to talk to you myself. So when we started talking, and as soon as we started texting, it just like, we just hit it off, I guess, from the start. And we ended up staying up, I think, until like 6 o'clock in the morning, just talking all night long. And I was like, this is definitely the one. He's super sweet, he's really respectful, he's really nice to me, and all this stuff. And mind you, like, I was not looking for a relationship at all at this point. Like, I was not looking to get into a relationship or looking to be with anybody. Like, that thought didn't even come across my head. And it was just like, it was really good. So then we were talking for a couple days. I was just like, this is the one, this is the guy, like all this stuff. So then he asked me out, like 2 days later, I think I took him to the base for them to be able to leave for annual training and all that stuff. And I still remember when I went to go and pick him up, It had just started raining, and he ran up to me and gave me a big kiss in the rain, and it was like a movie scene. And that was just like, I don't know, it was just like one thing after another that kept being like so great, you know? So then we went to Jacksonville, which is where his base was. Sorry, I just hit the mirror. And I, like, you know, took him to the base and all of that stuff. And he left for 2 weeks. And at this point, we weren't dating yet. And he asked me on June 15th, on June 15th to be his girlfriend, which was the first day that he got to annual training. So mind you, when they're at annual training, they're in the middle of nowhere. So he had no service after the first day. So we went 2 whole weeks without talking, which was so frustrating. I tried to keep myself as busy as possible, and we just, like, I went to the beach with friends, and, like, I was working full time, so, like, that kind of helped a lot. But it was just so crazy. I was like, oh my gosh, like, you know, like, you just start dating someone, you want to be with them all the time. So after that, things just started going boom, 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 like moving so fast. It was like, he was back from annual training for, I think, like a week, maybe a week and a half. And in that week and a half, we ended up deciding to move from Florida up to New York so we could, like, work at this one place, like, right by my mom's house for the summer, because, like, New York's minimum wage is, like, way higher than Florida's minimum wage. It's, like, almost $12 an hour there. Or where, at least where we were working, we were making almost $12 an hour. And my mom wasn't charging us any rent or anything like that to stay there for the summer, so we were just like, you know what? We're just going to work here for the summer, save up a ton of money, and then move back down. Well, I had also, I guess I left this part out. When I was with the other guy, when I first moved down, I had bought a car. I had bought a 2015 Honda Civic. Loved that car so much. And when Nick and I moved up, because we moved July 2nd. We left July 2nd, I want to say. We left in the beginning of July, right before the 4th of July. And then we were supposed to be moving back in September. So in that time period, I want to say it was like around like August, September area, he got into 2 car accidents in one day in my car. So the first one was, he was backing out and he scraped the car on a pole, and he called me or texted me, one of the two, but he told me, and he knew I was gonna be furious, and I just lost it because I was like, I've literally had this car for like 6 or 7 months, and like, you just scratched my car, like all this stuff. And, like, he's a pretty good driver. He's gonna like probably take this video and never let it go that I just said that he's a pretty good driver, but yeah, he's a pretty good driver. But I did have a backup camera that was like a 180 view, and I also had like the side mirrors with the little tiny mirror on the side mirror, so that way you don't have a blind spot looking in the side mirror. So in my head I was like, how the hell can you hit a pole if there are like literally no blind spots on my car? So that was just whatever. So I was like yelling at him, and I was like, just take the car home and park the car and do not drive it anywhere else. So I'm at work. Now, where I was working at the time was 40 minutes away from my house, of where we were staying at for like what was supposed to be a temporary time, because I think at this point we knew like we were gonna have to extend it a little bit closer to like December. So I had the job that we were originally working at was a seasonal job, so we ended up having to get actual like regular jobs. I just got another seasonal job because I knew I wasn't planning on staying past like when that season would be over. So I was working at Yankee Candle, 40 or 45 minutes away from my house. And he was another 20 minutes away from the house. So like my house is here, I'm here, and he's all the way out here. So I, in total, was an hour away from where he was. And I get this phone call, and he just said, I got into a car accident and I think I totaled your car. And I was like, you said what? Is this a joke? Because like that just happened like 10 minutes before. And he was like, no, like I'm not joking. Like I was driving down the road and this dude just like pulled out right in front of me like this. Like he did not have any time to stop, and he was the right way. Like his light was green, so he was just going down the road, and there was a lot of construction. There's a gas station here and a Wendy's here. And he had to, the dude was like pulling out of the gas station, and there was the lane to go straight, a lane to turn left, and then the lane coming the opposite way, and then Wendy's. Well, the dude was coming out of the gas station, was trying to cut across and go to Wendy's. Well, the lane to go straight, their light was red, and the lane to turn left, that light was green, because he was going down that lane to go left. So he's going down the lane to go left, he's going like this under the speed limit and all of this stuff, and this dude just pulls out right in front of him, and Nick couldn't even see him because of this whole line, like long line of cars in the lane that goes straight, and the dude pulls out right in front of him, and he has no time to stop. So totaled the car. Luckily the car got paid off, but the car got totaled. So that put a big stop to our plans. Now mind you, at this point we were already engaged. Like we moved up here and shortly after he had proposed to me. But yeah, so the car got totaled, and now we're like, well, what now? Like, we now have no car and all of this stuff. So fast forward a little bit longer, we were just having to kind of like share my mom's car because we were living with my mom and my grandma. We were having to share their car, and that was just a hot mess because everybody like had to go everywhere, and everybody was going in completely opposite directions to go to work and school and all of this stuff. And it was 5 people sharing one car. And like, is it doable? Yes. But was it a pain in the butt? Absolutely. So fast forward to October 3rd. That was the day that we got married. One of our neighbors gave us their car, and it was just a complete disaster. Like, it was so bad. It was just like, are we thankful that they were wanting us to buy it from them, but I was like, but they had said that like we didn't need to start paying until like a certain time, and I think they said we could start making payments in like December or something. I don't remember exactly off of the top of my head, so I'm not gonna quote an exact month, but it was like a little bit out from then. So the first week that we had the car, 3 tires popped. Now we went into the mechanic, like our local mechanic. They had to come and get us and tow us and all that stuff. Luckily we weren't too far from where the mechanic was. I think we were like 10 minutes away. But yeah, so they had to bring us all the way to them. Luckily they had like newly used tires that we were able to get for a cheaper price. But they were like, your tires are completely bald. And I was like, that's crazy. Like, these tires aren't even that old. How is that even happening? Further down the line, we found out that the tires, instead of being like this, were like this. And that's like, from looking at it from outside, you wouldn't know unless if the car was up in the air and you were looking at it from under, and then you could tell they were kind of starting to tilt in. And we found out that the frame was just completely shot. And it was just one thing after another. And then the car was like making this weird noise. It was so loud. Like, I mean, you literally had to turn the speakers all the way up and you could barely even hear the music. It was so loud. And we were driving up from Florida because, mind you, like, we're in New York, but he was still in the Marine Corps and he was in the reserves. So he had to go to Florida to the base in Jacksonville every other month. So every other month we were driving from New York to Florida, back to New York. And when we were driving down to Florida was fine. Like, the car was kind of noisy, but it was driving perfectly fine other than that. And we didn't know what it was. We just thought it was like the serpentine belt or something, and like, you know, it was just like whatever. And so then we're driving up and it's like 3 o'clock in the morning. I think we were either in Virginia or West Virginia in the mountains. And all I hear is this big like noise, and I see sparks coming from the back of the car. So I pull off at that exit. Luckily, we were right next to an exit. I pull off at the exit and pull into the gas station right there, right off of the exit. Like, God could not have set us up better for that, because the exit was literally right there. And we look under the car and the whole entire freaking exhaust system just snapped. Like, it was just on the ground, snapped. So we had to sit there at that gas station for hours until the mechanic opened, and they were able to do like a temporary fix kind of thing. And he was like, this car is not safe to drive on the road. He's like, you know, like, you could probably get home fine, but like, honestly, like, I would either just scrap it or... And then I told him like the whole situation. He was like, I'd just give it back to them because I would not risk driving this car. So we ended up giving the car back to these people because I was like, I am not going to pay you. I think they wanted like $3,000, and the car had like 170,000 miles on it. And I was like, I'm not going to pay you $3,000 for this. Like, we've already been having to fix it like multiple times, and it hasn't even been a month. Like, it was so bad. And we were thankful, like I said, we were thankful to have that car and to be able to have transportation and all that stuff. But we were not thankful for the fact that they knew what they were giving us and all that stuff. So then it was just like this whole debacle. So then we went back to having no car again. So now this moving date is getting like in sight, because we were like, okay, like, we have a car, so now we can move, and then we can just save up and buy a car while we're down there because this car is still working. Was not the case. We now had no car again, so we were back at square one again. So shortly after, like, everybody was like, hey, like, we all kind of want to move back to Florida, right? So this is like, now we're in January, February-ish, right? Everybody's like, we all want to move back to Florida. So all of us, all 5 of us, we're all going to move back to Florida together. And COVID was going on. I was pregnant by this point. We found out that I was pregnant in the beginning of January. And we were having the like hugest struggle trying to find a place, because clearly you cannot lie about where you live, because when you go and apply for an application and all that stuff to move somewhere, most of the time they want to know where you currently are living, so you have to give them your address. And as soon as people were hearing that we were from New York, they were just like, nope, because at that point New York literally had like the most cases. And where we were in New York, there were barely any cases, because that was like where all of the cases were like on the East Coast by like Manhattan and all of that. We were all the way on the West Coast over by PA. So it's like we were like way out of the way. Like, we did not start experiencing things until like March, around that area. So we had to move out in April. So it was getting really close to the moving date, and we were like, you know, like, we have to be out of here, because the person that we were renting from was selling their house. So we had no option. Like, we had to move. Like, it was either we had to buy this house or we had to move out of this house, and we did not want to buy the house. So we ended up finding this house in Ohio through a family friend, and we ended up moving here instead. And then Nick and I, like, at this point when we moved, I'm trying to think, I think I was like between like 18 and 20 weeks when I moved here. But yeah, so we moved here and all this stuff, and we only planned on being here, like, our lease started in April and ended in April, and Nick and I only planned on being here until the lease ended, or like soon, like leaving sooner than that, latest when the lease ended, and moving back to Florida. So now we are looking at moving back to Florida in April when the lease ends. Fingers crossed it actually happens, because life seems to be throwing curveball after curveball. But yeah, so that's basically caught up to today's date. Now it's just kind of like we're getting ready for baby. Babies tried to come early. We are having a girl, which is super exciting, and we are naming her Gwen. Well, her name is actually Gwyneth Mabel Yukon, because my last name is Yukon now because I'm married. And we're just calling her Gwen for short because Nick wanted to call her Gwen for short, and I didn't mind calling her Gwen for short. And so yeah, so we have her nursery. Eventually I will do a nursery tour, and then we have some stuff set up over here to my right. And yeah, that's pretty much where we're at in life. It's been super crazy, super hectic. This video is pretty long, so sorry about that. Most people know all this stuff. Like, originally I was like, like, do I want to do like a name reveal and like all this stuff? But it's like, I'm so far along already. Like, it's kind of a little too late. Pretty much everybody that I know already knows all this stuff. Like, so I just feel like, you know, let's just put it all out there right now, so that way you guys can just kind of hop in from where we're at now, instead of being like, well, like, so much has changed, like, you're having a baby, what, like, now you know the whole backstory. So yeah, it's super exciting. We're so excited to have a baby. I have always wanted a little girl, so I'm so excited. Backstory though on the girl part, we actually thought I was having a boy. So I was convinced I was having a boy. Nick wanted a boy. My mom, like, had a boy first. My grandma had a boy first. So I was kind of convinced. Oh, and then my dad's mom had all boys. No girls, all boys. So I was convinced that, like, my probability for having a boy first was going to be very high, and Nick and I only wanted one kid to begin with. Like, we had talked about, like, possibly having a second kid, but that would be, like, further down the line. Like, first kid isn't even here yet. We weren't even thinking about a second kid, really, but it, like, we both really only want one kid. Like, yeah. So some people think that's cruel, some people don't. Personally, like, from having siblings, like, when you're an only child, you want siblings, and when you're not an only child, sometimes you wish you were an only child because you don't get as much attention because you have siblings. So you're, like, the parents' attention is divided between each child to try to give them equal time, you know? So, which, I mean, I'm thankful for everything. Like, my parents were great. They did not neglect us at all or anything like that, but I just feel like that's just the name of the game, you know? But yeah, so I was convinced I was having a boy because of the way that my mom was, and my grandma, and, like, both of my grandparents, really. Like, everybody was kind of, like, having, like, all of these symptoms that were very similar, and they were all having boys. The way that I was carrying was like, okay, I think I'm having a boy. And then I got a blood test done to find out the gender, and it was a girl. And I've always wanted a girl, but I really thought I was having a boy, and I was honestly like perfectly fine either way, whether I had a boy or a girl. So that was really exciting to find out that we were having a girl, and then we just had it get confirmed through the ultrasound at my 20-week appointment. But yeah, that was super exciting. I plan on keeping you guys updated more with this whole pregnancy, yeah, and just everything going on. I mean, nothing is too exciting right now with the whole coronavirus going on, so it's like I'm not really going as many places, and you know, everybody has to wear masks, so masks make me really hot. I get a lot of hot flashes, so I don't like going many places, but I don't like staying home either, so it's rough sometimes. But yeah, we'll keep you updated on everything. Thank you for watching. Sorry that this video is so long. I'm probably gonna do an unedited video, so here we are 26 minutes in. But I hope y'all have a good one. Stay safe.